So I'm Matt, and I was married to Sharon, who also participated in the podcast as well. And our daughter is Ivy, and Ivy unfortunately left this world on January 22nd of 2017 due to an umbilical cord accident. And she'll always be in our memories and somebody that we hold dear to our hearts. I always see her I always see her poke her way through the clouds and shine down on us from time to time. Like I said earlier in another session, that I see her light shine through the ivy plant, ironically, a lot at the house, and she'll always be with us. She'll always be with us. But yeah, that's uh,
Well, sweet.
that's
Thank
our
you so
story.
yeah, thank you so much, man.
Mhm.
And it was so wonderful to talk to you about the birth of your daughter. You wanted to talk about the healing process, I guess would be a good way to put it. The healing process
Right.
for you individually and what you have come to realize. So,
Yeah.
w-
So I'm only human. I've certainly made my mistakes and
mhm,
found ways that, in hindsight, it was 2020, that we could go back and switch things out. I am now divorced from Sharon, and I think a lot of the reason why was because of how we did and did not heal, the
yeah,
healing process. That was the biggest factor. Before Ivy was born, we did a lot of things together. We watched a lot of shows together. We would participate in going out on dates, here and there when we could, from when either our parents or other family members would be able to watch our
yeah,
two children that are with us here, Fiona and Orion. But I would say after we lost Ivy, there was a big rift in our relationship. And what happened was Sharon ended up sinking into her world of books to isolate because we both had our own coping mechanism. And
yeah,
unfortunately, both of our coping mechanisms was isolation, which is good and bad. As I've said before, I recommend everybody see a therapist if you can, even if you don't think you need somebody.
yeah,
Please check them out because it's going to be a huge help. It's going to help you individually, and it's going to help you as a couple as well. In hindsight, I wish we had done that. I really wish we had done it, gone and seen a counselor together, because I ended up sinking into the world of video games and isolating through RPGs and sinking myself into these other worlds where I didn't have to cope with reality
yeah,
here. And Sharon did the same, but through books. And what happened was, over the course of 5 years, we slowly grew apart. And another reason why was because of my addiction that I fought as well. Um, it was a big part of our rift and huge negative coping mechanism that I used to try to cope with Ivy's death. I don't blame my addiction on that whatsoever. I blame that on myself.
yeah,
So she was not the reason behind my addiction. It was just because I foolishly chose to participate in something that I thought at the time would heal, and it didn't. And instead, again, it drove this rift between us, and over the course of many years, we grew apart. We forgot who we were as individuals, and we forgot what dreams and hopes that we had, and we weren't able to share those together. And I think the biggest thing is, with any sort of couple, is having those hopes and dreams and having those goals for the
yeah,
future. Any healthy couple, any healthy relationship should always have some sort of goals or set some sort of hopes that you want to have for the future. Here's where we want to be in 5 years. Set 5 year plans, set 10 year plans, set 30-year plans. And if
yeah.
you can achieve them, great. If you can't, so what? At least
At
you're
least you were
growing
yeah,
together as a couple. And going and seeing a therapist was the biggest mistake that I personally think that we did not choose to do together. We are seeing a counselor now. Funny enough, after the divorce, I think I made a bad decision in choosing to get divorced, which in hindsight, again, was a decision that I made and I have to live with. However, I'd like to try to rectify or at least move forward and improve our co-parenting skills
yeah,
together. Um, so I think that a counselor helps us bring out our inner emotions and feelings, and we're able to share without any sort of biases or interruptions or arguments, for example. It's almost like having a referee
yeah,
available, you know, to referee your, so to
yeah,
say, your sessions of what's good and what's bad, the negative, the positives, where you want to go, where your mindset is at. Because I had no idea where Sharon's mindset was at.
Yeah.
She had no idea where my mindset was at. There were days when I would come home from work just absolutely exhausted, and the first thing I'd want to do is go lay on the couch, but I'd go and end up doing chores or helping take care of the kids when I didn't have the energy to do so. And Sharon was feeling the same way. And instead, we got into an argument over, who should be able to do this or
Yeah.
who's doing most of the work. And in hindsight, no, it's all arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's just stupid, silly things to argue about. But having that counselor and at least sharing our feelings and saying like, hey, here's how I feel like I'm doing this amount of work or we're doing this amount of work together and raising our children. And,
Yeah.
I feel like if I could put more here, I might be more effective in this area.
Yeah.
And then the other partner can come back, oh, I agree with that. Or, I think that if you put more effort into this area, you'd be more effective instead of
Yeah.
this area. And having somebody there to mediate those sessions would really be positive impact. And instead, what happened is we grew apart and we didn't have that capability. Instead, we argued and argued and argued and slowly started to resent each other. And that resentment grew. And unfortunately, I'm the one that pulled the trigger and decided to get the divorce. And it led to the rift in our relationship. And again, I'm not blaming this on the childbirth at all. I'm blaming this on the fact that we did not heal together. That's the biggest thing to remember. Ivy's birth had nothing to do with our decisions to separate, or my decision to separate,
Yeah.
I should say, and our healing factor that led to our separation or our rift. That's why I think that's the biggest advice I can give to anybody moving forward is if you please, please heal together. Don't
Yeah.
don't isolate. Don't get into this habit of coming home and separating into different worlds because it only is going to cause a rift.
Yeah.
And statistics show that parents of children who have lost or
Yeah.
have lost children are more likely to get divorced. And the statistics are right there. And I think that the biggest cause of that is just lack of communication.
Yeah.
And so I hope whatever power is up there, I hope to whoever that if you're listening, please heal together.
Yeah.
Share each other's thoughts. Communicate. Even if it's something that you don't think is going to help, share it because you never know who you might be healing or what you might be helping accomplish in a relationship where you two can do better. So that's what I hope to share with my
Yeah.
time.
Now, as you were talking about it, there are multiple entities in a family. There's the individuals, there's you, there's your ex-wife, there's your relationship, there's your
Hmm.
relationship between you and your children. And as you were saying, the isolation is good for self-healing, but it's a sort of a
Correct.
detriment. It's a detriment to the healing of the relationships. Um,
Exactly. If you
we're
look at the relationship as a separate entity, that's
yeah,
what really got
yeah,
damaged and chipped away over time. You picture that like a block of ice.
yeah,
Every time that we would isolate, we were healing ourselves, and our ice blocks were growing
yeah,
thicker. But it was like chipping away with the
yeah,
pickaxe, or slowly over time, over many years, and until it just eventually disappeared. Now, our relationship with the children was still strong because when I would isolate, for example, I would often do so with my son or daughter or both. And we would play games together or do things together, but we wouldn't do it as a family.
yeah,
Instead, we would both isolate and do it
yeah,
ourselves individually with our children present.
yeah,
So Sharon would have her time with the kids, maybe playing with like a marble run game with Orion, for example. And I would not participate because I would be taking my alone time, my
yeah,
5 minutes to recuperate or whatever. We
yeah,
didn't do it as a family. We didn't have those moments as a family between all of us. And even if you look at the entity of the children relationship with us, that was strong. That
yeah,
was definitely strong. But looking at the entity between me and Sharon constantly chipped away
yeah,
over time. And
yeah,
yeah. I think I like your way of looking at it like that as that separate entity.
yeah. And it's, you have to be as an individual, you have to heal. Like we're not saying that you can't as an individual heal.
Right.
But
Exactly.
as an individual, you are also a bigger part of a bigger entity, of a family, of a relationship. So it's
Hmm.
one of those sticky situations where
Very much so.
if you feed one, you can't starve the other. You
Yep.
have to be feeding everything, And so
Yeah.
I'm glad
Mhm.
that you are, and you mentioned to me that you are 8 months sober,
Thank
which
you.
is
Yep.
a
8 months sober as of January 5th. So
very big congratulations on that.
thank you. Yeah.
That is part of a healing as well, bettering
Yeah.
yourself. You've mentioned that you're in counseling with Sharon.
I'm counseling
Congratulations.
currently. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah. So we're doing counseling sessions now together.
yeah. And building relationships, and who knows what the whole future will hold,
Yeah.
but the benefit to your children, all three of your children, will be immense. And that's going to be a legacy for them,
Yeah. Absolutely.
that they
And
have
I think,
a father who
and I
loves
want to
them.
go see. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was going to say it's going to be a legacy of a father who loves them. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I know, speaking of which, they're actually on their way over, which is funny because Sharon and I are actually going to be part of the healing process, go into a work outing for my work tonight, and I'm hoping that these little instances, like I said, if we don't end up getting back together, at least I hope it helps our co-parenting moving forward, and
Yep.
that's better for the children.
Yep.
That relationship that exists with the kids, in my opinion, I think we made sacrifices in our own relationship to heal the children and keep them healed, and it's finding the balance.
Yep.
Like you said, it's a sticky situation, it's a sticky road because finding that balance of how to spend time with your significant other and the children, and find time for yourself, for your own healing.
Yep.
There's balancing those bridges, all three of those bridges. This is very difficult. Just don't make sure you try not to pour too much energy into one or the other,
Yep.
and try to separate it out amongst everybody evenly so that
Yeah.
everybody heals. In the end, that's what really matters is everybody's healing. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm at a happy place now, and I'm glad all my children are happy. And I'm gonna go see my daughter Ivy on the 22nd for her birthday, and it's just gonna be good. It's gonna be
It's
a
going
good
to be
time.
good. Well, Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me on here, and this has been an absolutely wonderful sharing session. Much love to you.
It's been wonderful and a pleasure to meet and connect with you
Mm,
as father to father. So thank you.
thank you.